support for public education, for working Americans, and for justice for all. Thank you so much. I also want to thank Mayor Kitty for the very warm words and welcome to this fair city. We have appreciated being in Eugene, and for those of you who don't know, I'm Gail Rasmussen. I proudly serve the 47,000 members of the Oregon Education Association as president, and it is our indeed pleasure to be here today. We have more than 100 OEA members, both licensed staff and education support professionals, our classified support members, here in Eugene to learn together, to work together as we share and plan and engage to make education in Oregon strong and accessible. Whether we are from Eugene or Elmira, it's just down the road a little ways here, Astoria or Ashland, we are all over the state. And we are so proud of the work that we do every day preparing the next generation of students as they look toward their future. We're gathered here today to stand strong together for public schools. I want to thank our brothers and sister union members representing SEIU, AFSCME, GTFF, all of you, the Eugene Springfield Network, all of you for joining in here with us today. Strong schools are truly the linchpin of a great society. We know that. We need schools that are well funded. We need them to be places that our students can grow and learn and discover. And we need them to be places of safety as well as places to be creative. And we know that public schools are the cornerstones of a strong economy. Without an educated populace, what would our society look like? And strong schools ensure that the voices of educators are heard and valued. So we are indeed united in this labor movement. I'm pleased to see folks here from We Are the 99% because we are the 99%. We are the 99%. We are the folks who fight to protect the American dream. And we will stand together to continue to fight for that dream. We will support each other in all of the various efforts and challenges that are before us. We are united. We are one. Are we one? And Oregon educators and our unions will continue to join together with our brothers and sisters and our communities across this great state and as well as this great country to ensure that we are together in this to create a society for our future students and our future generations. And I thank each and every one of you for being here with us today. Now, I have the distinct pleasure of introducing someone to you, Mr. Gordon Leffler, but I'm going to tell you a little bit about him before I let Gordon come and have the microphone. Gordon is a professor right down the street here at the University of Oregon at the Labor Education and Research Center. In 2010, he took a leave from that faculty position to go help our U.S. House of Representatives to work and serve as their senior labor policy advisor. So we had someone that really knew what the heck he was talking about, helping the decision makers to make good policies, and we appreciate the work he's done there. He is also a research associate for a Washington, D.C. based Economic Policy Institute, which is one of the premier think tanks for progressive economic policies. Give it up, brothers and sisters, for our brother Gordon Leffler.
anytime I talk to a group of teachers, I have to start by saying thank you, because I have the tremendous fortune to have a 5-year-old daughter who started kindergarten last month here in the 4J system, so I know in an extremely personal way the value of teachers. So not as a professor, but as a parent, let me say thank you for all of your work. As a professor, I'll say some of the obvious, which is we're meeting here at a time of almost unprecedented economic crisis, and we're meeting just a couple of blocks from where the Occupy Wall Street and Occupy Eugene movement has been for the last week, joining people from Wall Street to cities across the country who are occupying to demand justice. And for those of you who haven't seen it, one of the places that I think really drives home what the Occupy Wall Street movement is about is a website that's just called We Are the 99%, and all it has on it is day after day, person after person across the country, people posting up one picture and one page telling their story of how this crisis has been brought home in their lives. And I want to share with you just a couple of the things that have been, two of the stories that have been put up on that website just in the last couple of days. Here's the first one. The guy writes in this: I'm a veteran that lost most of a leg in Afghanistan at age 18, naively doing what I thought was defending my country. I'm a college graduate with a good job. I'm a lucky one. I'm able to pay my bills most of the time, though we still live check to check. My wife is a teacher who pays for books for her classroom. She buys the supplies, and her school doesn't have funding to pay her to do art, so she does it on her own time with the kids. Between the two of us, we have $60,000 in student loans. We share a 3-bedroom apartment with another family so we can try to save money for our future, which we can't. I'm terrified there is no future. I'm crying as I write this because I'm ashamed I can't provide for my family. I am the 99%. Here's a second one from a teenager. He put up, my school is in ruins. There are holes in the wall, vandalism in the entryway, and we don't have textbooks. We're a last-ditch school. There isn't a single student who's not disabled or who didn't flunk or get expelled from their old schools. This school is all we have left, and our parents can't take us anywhere else if it fails due to the lack of funding. We need help. Please at least put us through high school. We are the 99%. When you read or hear these stories, they're horrible and tragic, but the truth is that what we're suffering through is not a tragedy, it's a crime. What happened to our economy is not a natural disaster. We know what happened, and we know what crashed the economy. We didn't lose it because of a hurricane. We lost it because the richest and most powerful corporations in the country bought off politicians to change the laws so that they could take money that was supposed to be safely guarded in school budgets and pension funds and put it instead into phony Ponzi schemes of crackpot investments where the only people who understood the rules of the scam were the bankers running it. And when the whole thing came crashing down, the architects of that crime on Wall Street all got bailed out, and we got left crying in shame and begging for textbooks on the internet. And the truth is, this problem still now, despite that crime, in the wake of that crime, this problem can be solved. The cuts in jobs, healthcare, and schools are mostly because every state in the country is facing a huge budget deficit. But as Peter DeFazio said, we're not broke. There's plenty of money still in the country. The problem is the people at the very top are hoarding all of it. We could, now here's the kind of facts, if you're a professor, you have time to sit around and discover. We could take care of every dollar of every deficit in all 50 states in the country by doing two simple things. One is end the Bush tax cuts for the wealthiest people in the country who make more than $250,000 a year. And the other is make the people who make their money buying and selling stocks on Wall Street pay the same income tax rates as the rest of us. That's it. You do those two things and it more than makes up for all of the budget deficits in all of the states of the country. So the reason we don't do those is because there's not enough people like DeFazio in the Congress. And I think we have to be clear and not be fooled. When John Boehner and Eric Cantor stand up and say any kind of tax cut on anybody is off the table, this is what they're really saying. They're saying, I believe it's so important to give more money to the richest people in the country that I'm willing to have schools shut down, toddlers kicked out of daycare, sick people denied treatment, and old people made homeless in order to pay for it. That is the agenda. And it's up to us to be the ones to fight back against this agenda and to insist on a different, more just, and more humane vision for what the country is supposed to be. I would say that of all the lies that have been told during the last year, the lie that pisses me off the most is the idea that what unions are driven by is selfishness, and that what teachers' unions especially are driven by is selfishness. I could be wrong, but my guess is that if what you guys wanted to do was make the most money you could get in your pockets, there are probably easier ways of doing it than becoming school teachers. But more to the point, if as a union what you were really about is selfishness, you would take the kind of deal that employers are always pushing on unions, which is sell out the next generation. Okay, all you guys, wage increases, no problem, health insurance, growing pensions, as long as you agree that the people coming behind you don't get health insurance or pensions. That deal is always on the table for every union. And I believe that the reason that you have not taken it is not only because it's wrong, and is not only because it would weaken the bargaining power of the union down the road, but because it's bad for the kids. To say, what we're going to do for the next generation of kids is have them taught by a lower skill, lower wage, lower morale, higher turnover core of staff. And that, to me, that core thing of the labor movement, which is you standing in solidarity with people you don't even know, who are not now members of the union, who have not even gotten their teacher certificate yet, and you thinking of the kids and standing for something, for some commitment and some value that is more than dog-eat-dog money and how can I get ahead of the person next to me. That idea of solidarity, to me, is the biggest contribution that the labor movement has to make to the country. I think that, when we're at this time of economic crisis, most people in the country, like you can see on that website or just know from talking to anybody, most people in the country are experiencing a lot of problems and a lot of anxiety and a lot of worry. And the people at the top are spending hundreds of millions of dollars to try to channel everybody's worry and anxiety in any direction other than back at the people who caused it. And part of that is a campaign of disinformation to make us all stupid and to make us forget what we actually know about what crashed the economy, to think, oh, maybe the deficits in 2008 came about because public employees got pay all of a sudden went up, which is not true. Maybe it's because the minimum wage is too high. Maybe it's because too many dehydrated brown people are coming over the border from the South. None of those are the reasons. We know what the reason is. And I think that this is where the role of teachers, I think, is particularly important, is not only to be like the rest of the labor movement. I mean, the Occupy Wall Street movement was not started by and is not led by labor union members, but I do think that it is up to us to take the lead in supporting and sustaining that movement. I think that teachers, especially, have a particular role, first of all, to keep people straight about misinformation and teach people how to think clearly, how to think critically, how to evaluate what's the difference between propaganda and what's fact, how to actually understand the world around us. And I also think that teachers remain the guardians of an idea of what society can be like that is not dog-eat-dog. For kids to get an idea, a different idea of how you can relate to each other that is less Lord of the Flies and more, and I say this as parent of a kindergartner baby, House on Pooh Corner. And so I think that although we did not create Occupy Wall Street, it is up to us to lead it, and I can't think of anything more fitting than to have school teachers leading that charge. So now Gail is going to lead us in the march, starting right now.